intellectual and a Fulbright scholar whose international research has also served on the board of the Obama Presidency Oral History Project. The author of several Leonie's book, A Love Letter to Black Families. Let's welcome Professor Dr. Karida.
Ancestor, because W.E.B Du Bois and his legacy belongs to all of us.
Okay, big smiles. Big smiles. Can we make some way, please? Second reading today by the U.S. Ambassador to Ghana. So the great grandson of Dr. W.E.B Du Bois, playing history, please make way so that the entourage can go and place the crown. Then finally, the foundation will also lay a wreath in memory of the great W.E.B Du Bois.
For your interest. We're going to require a lot more of this going forward from everyone. I'm going to try to be at least as brief as my preceding speaker, Dr. Brown, in saying that when you live as long as someone like W.E.B. Du Bois, and when you are as intellectually productive as someone like W.E.B. Du Bois was, it's very difficult to narrow the person's thought down to something that is easily encapsulated. So I'm just going to speak to one of his famous ideas. It has been mentioned here and there in the remarks of others already just now, but previously this morning. And it's a famous idea, an idea that's famously associated with Ghana itself. The story of Ghana is integral to this idea. And this is the idea of Pan-Africanism. It doesn't originate with W.E.B. Du Bois. There were Pan-Africanists in Africa before W.E.B. Du Bois ever used the word Pan-Africanism. They may not have used the word Pan-Africanism, but they shared a similar set of ideas. I'm talking about people like Edward Blyden, Martin Delany, Africanus Horton, intellectuals who were from the continent, who contributed to this mighty river of thought that we're calling Pan-Africanism. And at heart, or at its foundation, what did this thought consist of? This thought consisted of the notion that, first of all, peoples of African descent are connected at the root, meaning it doesn't matter where you are, today, tomorrow, or yesterday. If you are of African descent, we share a common story. What are the key elements of that common story? The first thing that might come to mind to people is enslavement, but that would be the wrong thing to be the first idea. The first idea should be our grand history. The second idea should predate history. Dr. Karida Brown mentioned it in saying everyone, no matter where you came from, is in some way African by ancestry. And so this is a common shared human heritage that comes out of Africa. The element that I want to focus on, and it is an element that I've written about in my books, Born in Blackness, which was mentioned in the introduction. The subtitle of that book is Africa, Africans, and the Making of the Modern World.
Ancestor, because W.E.B. Du Bois and his legacy belongs to all of us. One thing about him during his life is that he was incredibly intentional. W.E.B Du Bois never did anything by accident or left anything to chance. That's why he wrote 3 autobiographies of his own self, in addition to many, many essays where he would let his audience know what he was thinking at different periods of time in his life. And I mention all that to say that it was not by chance that W.E.B Du Bois moved to Ghana for his final years, that he chose for this to be his final resting place. That was intentional. And we have a great legacy here. I want to thank the W.E.B Du Bois Foundation and the executive director, Japhet Aiko, for your leadership and the vision that you have set for what this site will be. I see a vision where this will one day be a World Heritage Site. Why? Because Du Bois was one of the greatest intellectuals of the 20th century, and he chose to be an elder here. He passed on this day 61 years ago and became our ancestor, and he is mightily proud of what we are doing, but now it's time for us to get to work. As the Bible says, to whom much is given, much is required. And Ghana has been given a mighty, mighty thing with Du Bois's legacy and home here. So let's all stand up and take the mantle of responsibility to see the vision forward that's been set forth. And I do want to also thank you, His Excellency President Nana Addo, for offering this strong effort of support from the great nation of Ghana to make sure that this happens. And thank all of you. I will say, not only Ghanaian people, but as Du Bois would say, we are all children of the sun. That includes every last one of us in this room, no matter where you started or where you're going to finish. So let's celebrate today and also know that there is work to do ahead of us. Thank you.
The fight for civil rights, his scholarly work, and his loyalty to Pan-Africanism resonate deeply within our national consciousness. As we break ground today, we're not just renovating a building, we're reaffirming our devotion to the values and ideals that Dr. Du Bois championed throughout his life. Born in the United States of America in 1868 at Great Barrington, Massachusetts, to 3 mixed-race parents, Alfred Du Bois and Mary Sylvina Du Bois. His works, such as The Souls of Black People and Black Reconstruction in America, are compelling references in the fields of sociology, history, and African American studies. However, it was his devotion to the Pan-African movement that truly forged the connection with Ghana. In 1961, at the age of 93, at the invitation of Ghana's first president, the celebrated Kwame Nkrumah, Dr. Du Bois made the life-changing decision to relocate to Ghana. Here, he found a home and a nation that embraced him and his ideals. The Du Bois bungalow became his residence, his sanctuary, and the epicenter of his intellectual and activist pursuits. It was here that he continued his work on the Encyclopedia Africana, a project that sought to document and celebrate the achievements of people of African descent worldwide. Dr. Du Bois's vision for Africa was one of unity, strength, and self-determination. He believed in the power of education, culture, and heritage to uplift and transform societies. His call for the intellectual and economic empowerment of African people remains as relevant today as it was over a century ago. As we Du Bois Center, board members of the board, and executive director of the W.E.B Du Bois Museum Foundation, members of the Du Bois family, U.S. Ambassador, South African High Commissioner, and other members of the diplomatic corps, fellow Ghanaians, ladies and gentlemen. Today we gather here to honor one of the intellectual giants of the African diaspora, Dr. W.E.B Du Bois. As we stand on the hallowed grounds of the Du Bois Center, cutting the sword for work to commence on the renovation of the Du Bois bungalow, it is fitting that we do so on this day, the 61st anniversary of his passing here in Accra. Dr. Du Bois was not just a scholar, historian, sociologist, and civil rights activist. He was a visionary whose profound insights and tireless efforts helped to pave the way for the liberation and empowerment of people of African descent across the globe. His work transcended borders and generations, leaving a strong mark on the fabric of our collective history. The decision to renovate the Du Bois bungalow is more than a mere construction project. It is a commitment to preserving the legacy of a man who surrendered his life to the pursuit of justice, equality, freedom, and the unification of the African people. This bungalow, which served as his home and intellectual haven during the final years of his life, is a symbol of the deep bond between Dr. Du Bois and Ghana, and by extension, the entire African continent. Indeed, this structure stands as a connection to the enduring bond between Ghana and one of the most influential intellectuals of the 20th century.
When this edifice, an iconic dream, will come to pass, Mr. President, on behalf the reading will take place and then followed by the President will break ground on the day of the Du Bois project. The President
to commence the groundbreaking of the Du Bois Museum project. Mr. President and Mr. Ayubu. And now they will do a tour of the museum. First of all, take a look at what the new project is going to look like. The convention.
So the bungalow would be renovated.
The first bit was that it's barely any time celebrated was holiday in China, which is now normal. The second gift is this embroidery we have behind here. So at the embroidery, the white hair symbolizes his old age. He's a man of leadership by the staff. He's a man of peace by the beard, a man of charity by the seas, and he's a man of wisdom by the two scrolls. The third gift is these two scrolls we have here, which is a citation applauding and praising Dr. Du Bois for who he is, his kind gesture, and his contribution towards the world at large. And the last gift is the walking stick we see in the glass, which he used for 4 years from 1959 to 1963. These are the three main reasons why he came to Ghana, editor and writer of all African countries and encyclopedia, which he completely was not able to complete, but completed Swaziland and Botswana. We have here some of his letters and journals, some which he wrote in his own handwriting, some in French, and some that I believe of 18 months. Before
was a full actor for President George.
Wrote in his own handwriting, some in French and some in English. He was a man who understood 6 languages, which was French, Greek, Latin.